Hi everyone, welcome to your notes on Chapter 4, Cells, the Working Units of Life. In this video, we're going to focus just on 4.1. So 4.1 focuses on cells providing compartments for biochemical reactions. But we're going to focus more on the size of cells and how the structure or size and shape of a cell can affect how it functions. Most cells are tiny in order to maintain a good surface area to volume ratio. The volume of a cell determines its metabolic activity per unit time, while the surface area of a cell determines the amount of substances that can enter or leave the cell. Another way to think about this is that the volume of the cell is going to determine how quickly objects, substances are going to be able to diffuse from the outside toward the center, whereas the surface area can be thought of as how much of the cell's surface or plasma membrane interacts with its external environment. Both of these factors are important to cells, and it's these factors that are going to influence the size of cells. On this graph, it is showing you the differences and comparing the two different sizes of cells that are cubed shape. You'll notice here that this cell is 1 millimeter cube, so that's 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, and then the size increases. So now we have a 2 by 2 by 2 and a 4 by 4 by 4. And what you'll notice about this is that the calculations were already done for you, but it's important that you be able to do these calculations as well. So you'll see what happens to the surface area as the size of the cell increases. So your surface area goes from 6 to 24 to 96. However, when you look at the volume of the cube, the same cubes going from 1 to 2 to 4 millimeters, the volume of the cube is changing at a different rate. So we go from 1 to 8 to 64. And so what happens is when you take the surface area and you divide it by the volume, you get a ratio. And that ratio is to help us predict how efficient a cell is going to be. There is a rule of thumb. The larger the surface area to volume ratio, the more efficient the cell is going to be. So when you take a look at these ratios, a 1 millimeter cube has a surface area to volume ratio of 6. But a 2 millimeter cube has a surface area to volume ratio of 3. So you see here, it essentially gets cut in half. We go from 6 to 3 to 1.5. So as cells grow larger, the metabolic activity and need for resources and rate of waste production increases faster than the surface area. In some cases, what happens is large cells can increase that surface area by folds in the cell membrane. So what this slide is saying, and is important for you to understand, is the relationship that's happening here. The relationship is, as the size of the cell increases, that surface area to volume ratio decreases. This in turn indicates that the efficiency of the cell is also going to decrease. So the larger the cell, the smaller that surface area to volume ratio is going to get, and in turn, the less efficient it will be at exchanging materials, removing waste, bringing in nutrients, etc., with its environment. So cells need to figure out a way to overcome this obstacle. They can either stay very small, which would then flip all these arrows. The smaller the cell, The higher the surface area to volume ratio, the higher the efficiency. Or they can overcome this by other means, such as folding in the plasma membrane. That can increase that surface area without changing the volume much, and then therefore making sure efficiency is still high. You can also compartmentalize biochemical reactions, such as with eukaryotes, by putting specific compartments or organelles where these reactions will take place. You can increase the efficiency. You can also change the shape of the cell, because not all shapes are going to have the same ratio at how quickly that surface area to volume ratio drops, and we are going to investigate that as well. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Thanks so much for watching.